Today we're going to be doing an Air ride suspension system installation on a Gen 3 Suzuki Hayabusa. First off, we're going to go through all the parts that you're going to get with your kit. So let's get into it. So number one, this is going to be your air shock. This is what's going to replace your spring shock that's on your motorcycle right now. Next up, we're going to have an air compressor. This is going to provide air to your air shock. Next up, we're going to have our valve pair. So this valve pair are two solenoids, one of which allows the air to go into the shock and the other one allows the air to come out. Next up is the pressure switch. Now this pressure switch is going to regulate the amount of pressure that is allowed inside your reservoir tank. And I'll tell you what the reservoir tank is next. This is our reservoir tank, which holds air. This way you're not waiting for that air compressor to air up whenever you hit that button. Next is going to be our dual relay. Now this is what's going to be controlled by our button switches. You have one relay to allow the air ride to go up and one relay to allow your air ride to go down. Last but not least are going to be our micro switches. Yes, these are the switches for your air ride. One to go up and one to go down. And generally we mount these on the left-hand handlebar, very easily accessed with your thumb. So now that you know all the parts that you're going to get with your kit, let's go into why you should be getting an air ride system. Well, number one, the comfort of the ride. Now a stock spring shock system works perfectly fine, but if you're looking for that easy, smooth ride on a cloud ride, air ride is definitely the way to go. Next, air ride systems allow you to make changes to your suspension, not only by making your motorcycle go up or down, but you can also change the rebound controls on your motorcycle. Rebound controls are how stiff or how soft you want your air system to ride. And you can do this by simply adding air or deleting air out of the inner cylinder of your air shock. One of the last reasons is the cool factor. Some of these motorcycles with stretched swing arms, single-sided arms are stretched anywhere from 8 to 10, 12, all the way up to 14 inches long. Well, the longer they go, the elevation rises this tail section, and you have to adjust them with dog bones. The problem with that is whenever you're parking or maybe you have a passenger, you really want to have this tail section as low as possible. But it's really difficult to do that, especially with a spring shock system. So what the air ride allows you to do is completely bottom out this tail section onto the top tire, or at least a couple of millimeters off, to get that perfect stance when you park or when you ride, making sure you never bottom out and never hit this rear tire on this tail section. So not only can it save you money, it can also give you 1,000 thumbs up on the road. Now that we've gone over the parts and why we're getting this air ride system, let's get into the install. Okay, so first up, we're going to go ahead and remove these dog bones. This is the other side of the bike. We're going to pull those dog bones out. We're just going to set them down. Next, we're going to go ahead and unloosen these bolts right here. Now we've got one other bolt that's going to be up top on the shock. Grab the bolt and remove the shock. So I've got this Hayabusa up on a lift in a very specific way. Number one, the front wheel is in a chock. Number two, I've got a flat jack under the middle of the motorcycle for elevation. And I made sure before I removed this rear wheel that I adjusted the height to know I have exactly 1.5 inches from the top of the rear tire to this tail section. And I'm going to tell you why. The length of a spring stock shock is longer than an air shock. But a stock shock has a spring, so it compresses, as where the air shock, once it's all the way bottomed out, it has no more movement. So we need to make sure that that air shock is in the same position of that stock shock under load. So I'm going to go over a couple of things you should know before putting this air shock on the motorcycle. Okay, like I said, I have my swing arm, my bike, and everything is in the correct position of where it needs to be, right? Okay, but if I take this shock and I go ahead and mount it up top and I put this bolt through, and this is where my dog bones should be. Even at the tallest settings, this eye hole and this eye hole does not line up. And that's a problem, because that means that this swing arm is going to have to come in at least another 15 degrees in order to hit this eye hole. So in order to get this eye hole lined up with this one, we're going to need to extend the shaft of our air shock, and I'll show you how. Okay, first off, now we've got the air shock out, and I just wanted to kind of show it to you. This air shock is a full sealed aluminum billet construction. Up top, this ring, this is Teflon impregnated copper. The reason that they do this is once that bolt's in and it's moving up and down, this Teflon impregnated copper will never wear away. The seals that they use inside this air shock are deep water oceanic seals that they use for drilling equipment that are miles underneath the ocean for years and years. So this thing is really built well. In fact, it's probably overbuilt. But getting back to this air shock, number one, let's do one thing first. This is going to be where your rebound control is. You have two options. Number one, you can add what's called a remote on there, where you can add this airline, screw it in. You can have a piece of airline come out to a designated area somewhere on your motorcycle. And if you feel that you want to add pressure to this air shock to make a stiffer ride, you can do so at any time. I usually don't add any air on it. I really like the soft ride. So what we're gonna be doing on this is we're just going to be adding a Schrader valve. This is gonna make sure that nothing gets inside this system. It's a Schrader valve is just exactly what you see like on your tire or your wheels, very simple. Before we put it on, we're gonna get some Teflon tape and put a little around the edge to make a good seal. Awesome. And that's the way that should look. And we're just going to screw this in here. Once that's started, we're going to use a 7/16 open wrench, and we're just going to tighten this up. Yeah, sometimes on the sport bikes, there's some guys that want to have a stiffer ride, especially if they're riding some corners, but they still like their air ride. So they'll add the remote to it. And when I say remote, it's not a remote control. Like I said, all it is, it's another valve where you'll connect an airline to, and you can just add air into it. It's nothing special. Okay, so now that we've got the Schrader valve inside the air shock, it's time to extend the length of the shaft to fit this motorcycle. The first thing I wanted to go over is what you're gonna get in this bag. So you're going to get a longer shaft bolt and it's like a 5/8 spacer and a 1/4 inch spacer. These spacers are not going to be long enough for this particular application. This is a 10-inch stretch on the swing arm. What we're going to have to do is we're going to need to add 3 of these 7/8 steel shaft collars, and we're going to need to add them to extend this shaft. And I'll show you how it's done. So number one, let's get the 3/8 socket head, and we're going to remove this bolt right here. All right, now that that's removed, we'll take our horseshoe, set it aside. This bolt is not going to be used. Just kind of give you an idea, the extended bolt, we can't use it because once this is put on, I'll show you the amount of thread that we're going to have left. This is all the thread that's going to be left to thread into this shaft, and to me it's just not safe. I want at least 1 inch of threading that's going into the shaft. So we're going to take this off. We're going to not use this bolt, which I don't know, measures out to about 2.5 inches. This one here is 3 inches, so an extra 1/2 inch definitely makes a difference. So we're going to start off by putting our bolt through. These steel collar shafts, they're going to have some set screws in there. Go ahead and take them out. You're not going to need them. Okay, we're going to set 1, 2, and 3 of these steel collar shafts. Before we put this on, we're going to put some red Loctite on it. We don't need a large amount, just enough to make sure that this bolt never backs out. And the chances of it happening, I've never seen it in 22 years of my career, so you'll be all right. But better safe than sorry. All right, so let's go ahead and start threading this in. All right, we're good to go. Now, if you look at this shock, you're gonna see that this is lined up. This is where it's gonna mount onto the top of the frame. Now this, we can actually spin it to get it in place. So we'll go ahead and line that up, and that's exactly how that should be. Maybe look a little off, but this is exactly how it should be. So now that we have this shock ready and extended, it's time to get this shock on this bike. Let's go. Okay, so first up, we're gonna take our shock and we're going to slide it up right here. We're gonna take our bolt. All right, we'll go ahead and put this nut up top. We'll come back and tighten that a little bit later. Right now, we're just gonna do a soft install. Okay, so the original bolt that went through here was a little short in my opinion. I went and got a 1/4 inch longer bolt, and we're gonna bring this knuckle up. We're gonna slide this bolt through, and now we definitely have enough real estate to start tightening that up. That's perfect. That's exactly where we want it to be. Remember earlier, the reason I said that we wanted to extend the shaft was to make sure that our dog bones lined up with these 2 eye holes. And I showed you that earlier. So now, look at that. It is perfect. I mean, almost down to the millimeter of exactly where we need to be. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the other side, and we're gonna put this dog bone on. Go through like that. Excellent, that's exactly how we want it. Now we'll take our other side of the dog bone and we'll slide this on. Looks like we need to come out just a hair. There we go, perfect. Now, once the dog bone nuts, the knuckle nut and bolt, as well as the air shock mounting bolt up top is all tightened and torqued, we have completed our first step of installing our Airfix air ride system into the 3rd gen Hayabusa. All right guys, now it's time to disassemble this tail section. And now we have the tail section pulled off. So just checking out the real estate that we have, the locations that we're going to be using, and that is definitely going to have to be fixed. So we'll take care of that on the back end. Okay, so the next step of the install is finding out where we're going to place our reservoir tank and where we're going to mount our air compressor. And I've got the perfect locations on this bike. So first off, we're going to remove this tail light. So you've got 2 screws here, 1 right here, and you've got a couple of bolts underneath here. I've already removed those to make it a little bit easier during this installation. So I'm going to remove these. Make sure your plug is unplugged. We're going to take this off. Now we're going to drop this tail section down. Remember, there's a bolt right here, here, and there's 2 on the very back. That will allow this tail section to free up. Okay, so I'm going to be mounting my air compressor right here, but there's going to be an issue. This plastic tray is going to get in the way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this bar. I'm just going to set this aside for the time being. All right, so to make a good guideline, I want to keep this pocket just in case the rider puts anything in the back trunk. But I'm going to put this piece of tape to create a guideline of where we're going to be cutting. This looks pretty good, but let's go ahead and get a test fit on that air compressor. What we're trying to do is we're going to make sure that our pump is going to clear this area right here. All right, now we can go ahead and get our bracket. Okay, so now to test fit our air compressor, we still got the tail section loose. We're going to slip this in here, bring this wire out, and what we want is this air compressor to sit underneath this bar where the passenger seat locks in place. And if you hold this up right here and you lift up this tail section, you can tell that, hey, we've got enough clearance. This tail section can go back in the factory position, and that air compressor has enough room to be mounted and secured. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and remove this air compressor. And before we mount this air compressor to this bracket, we're gonna wrap it in some rubber. So this is our air compressor here. What happens is whenever this thing turns on, it's gonna vibrate and it's gonna shake, and if it's mounted up directly to metal, it's gonna make a lot of noise. So I'm gonna take some old tube, I'm gonna cut a piece off, which I've got right here, and I'm going to wrap it around the compressor as tight as possible. And what we're doing, we're making a cushion, so wherever it's mounted to, it's not gonna shake and vibrate. Let's hold this in place right here. I'm gonna get a couple of zip ties. And we're gonna put one on the inside and one on the out. So a really good location for this air compressor is going to be right here. And I'm gonna pull this tail section down a little bit, tuck this up underneath, and I'm gonna slide it all the way over to the left as much as possible. I'm gonna take one of these large zip ties. I'm gonna come from underneath. What I'll do, I'll hold this up. And secure it in place. Once our compressor is secure, we're gonna make sure that it's tucked up as far up as possible inside this cubby. Go ahead and move these wires out the way. Now let's go ahead and reinstall our bracket. Now that our bracket is in place, let's go ahead and reinstall our tail light. I'm gonna put back our 8mm bolts back here. Line. Okay, so we got 3 screws here, here, and here. Let's go ahead and get those in place. Now we can go ahead and snug up these 8mm. Okay, so you got 4 more bolts underneath here. You've got this bracket that's gonna sit right here. We can go ahead and set this in place, and now that the air compressor is mounted, it's time to move on to the location of our air tank reservoir. And I've got the perfect location. We're also going to be mounting our pressure switch, our solenoids, as well as our dual relay. So let me show you how it's done. So first up, this is going to be our air tank reservoir, and this is going to be located right here. This is a great cubby for this location. The tail section will fit on fine with no interruptions. Next is going to be our pressure switch. Now this pressure switch is going to be located right here. We're going to pull this tab down a little bit, and we're going to mount this right here with a little bit of space in between the tank reservoir and the pressure switch fitting. Next is going to be our dual relay. Our dual relay is going to be mounted right here. Finally, we've got our valve pair, which are our solenoids, and these are going to be mounted right here. Before we install any of the electronic components, we want to mount them down with some 3M double-sided extreme Velcro tape. Now you get this stuff from Lowe's or Home Depot. Grab you a pair of scissors, some rubbing alcohol, and a paper towel, and I'll show you how it's done. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start off with our valve pair, also known as our solenoids. Now one thing that I did do is I went ahead and trimmed a little bit of this plastic to make sure that we had clearance on this solenoid, and I went ahead and removed this one because it was in the way of this setting down. Now we're just going to take our valve pair and slip it right here, put it right here. And I've already applied the Velcro underneath these to make sure that they're secure and they're not going to move. Now let's talk about our air tank reservoir. Now our air tank reservoir is going to be located right here. It's going to be a perfect location. But while we're doing the installation on the pressure switch and the dual relay, we're going to remove this tank so that way we can run our wires. Now I've already applied the double-sided Velcro to this side and the inside right here. I've wiped it down with alcohol, and we're going to mount this down first. Apply pressure to lock it in place. Next, we're going to take our dual relay and we're going to mount it right next to it. And that is a great location for it right there. Let's take a moment to talk about the pressure switch. You're going to have 2 sets of wires on this pressure switch. The first set of wires is going to be the red and the black wire. Now this red and black wire is going to connect directly to the air compressor. Whenever connecting the pressure switch to the compressor, I always like to have quick connects just in case we need to service this system later down the road. So with that being said, let's go ahead and route the wires from the compressor over to the pressure switch. So first up, I'm going to take these wires and run them underneath this rail. I'll run them underneath the second portion of the rail. All right. Once this is done, I'm going to connect the power and the ground from the compressor to the switch. Make sure that they're in there tight. Now I'm going to take a couple of zip ties and I'm going to secure these wires up against the frame right here. And for now, we're going to leave these wires just the way they are because we're going to be securing additional wires coming back. The second set of wires that you're going to have coming off of your pressure switch is going to be a ground and a power. Now this is going to be connected to your battery. The third wire is going to be a brown wire, which I extended. Now this is going to be your ignition. This is going to allow your air compressor and your air ride system to come on when the key is turned. So for right now, we're going to take this wire and we're going to run it back along the same route that we came down with the air compressor. Okay, now it's time to start wiring up our solenoids. Let's take all 4 of these wires that are coming from the solenoids, making sure that we know that this is the right solenoid and this is the left solenoid. One of the solenoids allows you to go up, the other solenoid allows the bike to go down. Now we're going to take these wires and we'll take the left solenoid first and we're going to fish this back and we're going to run it along the same wires that our air compressor and our ignition is on. Just to make sure that we don't get these wires confused, I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to wrap this around, and I know that this is my left solenoid. Next, I'm going to take my right solenoid. I'm going to do the same thing and wrap a piece of tape around to know that this is my right solenoid. We're going to take these wires and we're going to run this back in the same route that the other wires are running. And they should end right about here. Okay, so now it's time to connect our solenoids over to our relay module. If you go over here on a relay module, which is located right in front of the pressure switch, you're going to see 4 wires. 2 are grounds and 2 are powers. One of them is going to control your up, the other is going to control your down. So let's take the first solenoid that we had taped together, let's undo the tape, and we're going to connect one of these into ground. It doesn't matter which one you choose, as long as it's the same solenoid. We'll go ahead and crimp this together. And we're going to take one of the powers. We're going to crimp this together. Next, we're going to take our other solenoid. We're going to take our other ground, connect this in. And we'll go ahead and connect power to the other side of the solenoid. So just a heads up, this relay module is where your switch is going to screw into. Now you have up or down, or it could be up or down. If you want to switch which button goes up or which button goes down, all you have to do is switch these 2 wires right here. Very easy. All right, so now we're going to take these wires and let's clean this up a little bit. I'm going to pull these out of the way. I want to bring this wire down, tuck it down here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start getting these wires cleaned up in this section right here. So I'm going to put a tie right here. All right, we'll do another tie back over here. All right, now these wires right here, we can go ahead and route them the same way that we had the other wires from the air compressor and such. I'm going to start with this rail right here. I can grab this bunch of wires. All right, this looks pretty good. I think I can put one more tie back here just to clean it up a little bit more. Yeah, let me contact him real quick. Okay, so now let's take a look at the power and ground from our pressure switch, as well as the power and ground from our relay module. This is our relay module and this is our pressure switch. We're going to get this power to this power and this ground to this ground, and we're going to connect these up to the battery. We're also going to be installing an inline fuse that's going to connect from the power over to this power. So let's get it done. Take some heat shrink and we're just going to slide this over that area. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and spin this up right here for our power. All right, we're going to solder this to one another, but before we do this, we need to make sure that we have enough heat shrink to slide over this. So let's get a piece of heat shrink first. All right, so we're going to get a piece of heat shrink and just slide that out of the way. Now we're going to take our inline fuse. Let's go ahead and wrap that around. That looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and slip this heat shrink over and throw some heat on here. Okay, so now that we have these lines connected, let's go ahead and route these wires up, and we're going to slip it through this cubby right here. We'll pull this up, as well as this ground. I want to tuck that wire in, and I'm going to use a zip tie to secure our wires right here. I think I got both of them. That's good. All right, excellent. So now it's time to connect our ground and our power to the battery. Now, we're gonna leave this fuse out for the time being, but what we wanna do is take a measurement of how long our power wire needs to be over to our battery. We're gonna take a piece of heat shrink, slip it over, and we'll set this right here. Good and tight. Now that that's secured, let's go ahead and put some heat shrink over here. That looks nice. And we'll connect that to the battery shortly. The next one is going to be our ground. We don't need that much slack, so we're going to cut this here. That looks good. Okay, at this time, we can go ahead and loosen this ground, put a bolt through. Go ahead and secure this. And I always like to run the wires along the other side of the wires, you know, keep everything parallel. It looks nicer, very nice, clean. All right, so this one, we're gonna bring it over. Go ahead and loosen this up. Slip that bolt through. Snug this down. All right, that's good and secure. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and wire up the ignition wire. This was that brown wire that was coming off of that pressure switch. Now, I don't know if you saw earlier, but somebody had kind of cracked into this plug, wired up a tail light on there. We wound up cleaning it all up, depinning this plug, and we ran an extra plug. This is going to be his plug for his grab rail LED, and we also ran another wire from his ignition. Just to let you know, this gray wire is the ignition wire, so this is what's going to give the air ride system power once the key is turned. So we already have the wire run, and what I'd like to do is trim this, strip this, strip that, twist this, twist that, and I'm going to put 2 connectors on here, one male, one female. Slide that in. That's good to go. This one will spin that in. All right. Once these connectors are done, you can go ahead and push them together. All right, it's a good connection. And we'll just clean up these wires, make sure that they're secure with a couple of zip ties here and here. All right, now that that's in, let's go ahead and secure these wires with a zip tie. One there. Let's do another one right here. All right, everything's looking really nice. All right, guys, so once your wiring is complete, it should look a little something like this. If you've gotten this far, you're doing great. So next up, we're gonna install our air tank reservoir as well as all of our air lines. Let me show you how it's done. Okay, we're gonna start off with installing our first air line. We're gonna take our air line and we're gonna take these razor cutters. I don't know where I got these from, but they work great. So any cuts you make, you wanna make sure that this cut is perfectly straight. And you never wanna use pliers or wire cutters to cut air line. So let's go ahead and slip this first line in. Now this is going to go into the elbow bend onto the end of our solenoid. Next, we're going to take this air line and we're going to route it underneath the subframe bracket. Just like that. Now that our air line has come out, we're going to come to about right here and we're going to be adding this T. And we're going to make a cut right here. Go ahead and push that T in. Make sure it locks in place. Next, we're going to go to the top of the T and push this in. Make sure it's locked in place. Now this line is going to go over to our pressure switch. So we can go ahead and run that now. All right, that's pushed in all the way. So we've got one more air line to connect, and that's going to be for our tank reservoir. And like I said earlier, our tank reservoir is going to sit right here, okay? Go ahead and push this in here. Take a measurement. We can cut right about here. And we're going to place this air line into the fitting of the tank reservoir. Just like that. All right. Now our air tank reservoir is in. None of our air lines are kinked. We can go ahead and secure our reservoir tank with a large zip tie, which I'll do now. All right, once that's done, we can push that zip tie in down. Okay, so our next air line is going to be right here, and that's going to be on this side of the solenoid. Okay. So this line is going to connect to the compressor, and we'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, we got that air line in, and we're going to come down underneath here. We're going to bow around, and we're going to give it a little bit of slack. All right, that should be enough slack right there. Cut and go ahead and put this air line in. Now for our final air line is going to be run right here from the middle of these solenoids. This air line is going to run all the way down to our air shock. So let's get creative and find a good route to place this air line. Okay, connecting our air line. We need to run an air line from here all the way down, and we need to connect to that fitting right there on our air shock. So in order to do that, let's route it out. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and connect my air line right here, and we'll go ahead and push it in place. Now, I want this airline to run down through here along the side of this rail and go down. But there's a section right here that's getting blocked. And I don't want it to run over because I don't want anything ever being pinched. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my drill and we're going to drill a pilot hole right here. So that way our airline can fit right through it. Okay. Now that our pilot hole is done, we're going to go ahead and fish our airline through here. Just like that. Now we're going to take our airline and we're going to run it along this rail. I'm going to fish it down through here. Pull this out. I'm going to go up in here. Fish that out through there. Now I'm going to run this airline down as far as I can go up forward, and we'll pull it out through the bottom. Now this is where our airline is coming out of, and this is where we need to connect it to. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of slack, so that way whenever we go up and down, it's not going to get pinched or pulled out. So I'll go ahead and cut it right here, and we're going to insert it inside the port on the air shock. Okay, so now that we have it cut, I'm going to take this line, I'm going to insert it inside the shock, just like that. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to secure all the airline along the rails. Okay, finally, for one of the last parts of the installation, it's going to be installing our micro button switch. So our micro button switch is going to be mounted right here. And what we're going to do first is remove the existing lower bolt or upper bolt, whichever you prefer. We're going to remove this. We'll set that aside. And we're going to take a longer bolt. Now the reason that we're going to take this longer bolt, I believe this is an M6 by 1.25. And we need to make sure that this longer bolt has at least the space to take up the extra amount of the switch. We're also going to add a small spacer on the back, because if you notice that this clip-on, it kind of knurls out. So this right here should space it out just enough to not have to make contact. Now we're going to start hand tightening this up. All right, I'm going to keep that switch in place and I'm going to start tightening. All right, everything's snug and secure. Now we're going to take this wire from our switch and we're going to run it all the way back over to our dual relay. Now we can do this by lifting up this fuel tank. All right, so let's go ahead and lift up this tank. That way we have access. I'm just going to use an old box to lift it up. Okay, so this is our wire, and we want to route this wire all the way back down to our relay module. Okay, so I wanted to show you how I ran this wire. So this is where the switch is, and I ran this line down. Now before I did this, I turned those handlebars all the way to the right to make sure that there's enough slack that this wire isn't going to get broken or stretched. I ran this around right here, came down through the engine, came right here, and I crossed over, secured onto this line, brought it up right here. Now we're going to take our plug, and you want to spin it until it hits that little groove, push it in, and we're going to tighten this up just like that. Now we've got a little bit of slack, so what we'll do, we'll take this slack, we're going to set it right here. We're going to take one zip tie, we're going to wrap it around those lines. We'll do another one right here. Clean these zip ties up. All right, it's finally time to test out this air ride system. We got a fuse inside the fuse holder. We're gonna turn on this ignition and let's get this bike up. Perfect every time. This is only possible with the Instant Up package from Air Effects, and we always put the Instant Up Air Effects package on all of our air ride systems. If you're looking to hook up your motorcycle with a brand new air ride system, go to rushbikes.com today. Now notice how fast this air ride system goes up and down.